wreath-laying ceremony took place earlier at the infamous Koppie. Let's bring in eNCA Silindelo Masikana, who is in Marikana for us. Sli, thank you so much for your time. You've been on the ground speaking to the families of the victims. You observed the AMCU members who were laying wreaths at scene 1 and scene 2. How have they been reflecting 9 years since the massacre?
Well, I think you'd understand it's been quite a somber day here in Marikana, where we saw hundreds of those who came to honor those who died here at this infamous scene that we saw 9 years ago. And of course, it's a reflection on the fact that the material conditions of the people of Marikana, the working conditions of mine workers, are still a huge issue for those who were here today, saying that government has let them down, saying that government is well aware of many of the concerns that mine workers have when they go underground, especially when it comes to safety, but also that the struggle for economic emancipation remains. And that was the vow today, that those who died here would not have died in vain, that the struggle will continue, and that someday government will have to apologize and recognize the unfortunate and fatal scenes that unfolded, and that hopefully someday that the commemorations will certainly be acknowledged by government.
Yeah. Have they noticed anything, Sli? Is there anything that they can point to in that community that they can say this comes from, you know, the social responsibility of the mining company? So this is what government has done to us following that massacre.
None at all, Clement, and none that I've seen over the past few days that I've been here. Me and my colleague, Mokhomotsi Seduki, have been in Marikana for at least 3 days now, and everywhere you go, the socioeconomic conditions are just deplorable. People here are living in absolute poverty, and it seems just so bizarre because, I mean, this is part of the platinum belt, the minerals and the money that is made in this area. It seems quite unfortunate that the people here actually don't benefit. I mean, basic services, Clement, water, sanitation, electricity, housing are just still some of the issues that remain here in Marikana. Almost a decade later, the people of Marikana are still begging those in power to actually alleviate them and provide decent living conditions, rather, as well as a decent environment. I mean, the dust. If I just speak about this dust itself, Clement, when you're driving through Marikana, because of the lack of tarred roads and the mining activity, the people are living in habitual dust. So, I mean, that also cannot serve well for their health as well as the health of their loved ones. But, you know, speaking to some of the family members who were at the Joburg commemorations, yesterday we had an opportunity to speak to family members who still want justice. They want justice for their loved ones, and they want the finalities of some of the processes that have been unfolding when it comes to monies that are owed to some of these families. And so I think the message today here on the ground in Marikana is that there's still a lot more that needs to be done, and that the promises that have been made need to be fulfilled.
Yeah, we were listening to Advocate Dalimpofu earlier, who represents some of the families of the Marikana victims, and he's calling on government and President Cyril Ramaphosa to apologize for the massacre and not wait until the courts force them to do so. Is that the same expectation on the ground in Marikana?
Certainly so. I mean, it seems it's just nobody seems to understand why it is that in a post-apartheid, in a democratic South Africa, that after such a tragedy that has taken place here in Marikana, that you don't see government officials coming to the ground, coming to speak to the people. It's always the people through the media trying to get their message across, to say you know, you guys saw what happened here. Those visuals were unfolding literally on live television, yet to this day, there's been no apology. There's nothing that shows you that anything happened here. I'm going to ask my colleague Mafumuti Situki to once more give you a picture of the actual Koppie. And it just looks like any other hill here in Marikana. Absolutely nothing that signifies the scenes that we saw unfolding. Nothing that can make you really make this area stand out in terms of the significance of this area, the bloodshed that was spilled here. There's none of that. And instead, what we are seeing is that those here in Marikana take it upon themselves, Clement, to continuously ensure that the 16th of August 2012 is not forgotten. That was also one of the messages here. The miners were saying that what happened here will never be forgotten. In fact, many of them didn't even go to work today. There are calls for this day to be a public holiday. And they're saying that even if government doesn't recognize it, the people here will never forget what happened.